Right, hey guys, it's Weston here. So today I'm going to be reviewing the Vodafone Smart Platinum 7, and I'd just like to say a massive thank you to them for sending it out to review. So anyway, let's take a look at the phone, and right off the bat, the first thing that you'll really notice is the massive 5.5-inch display, which is covered by 2.5D Gorilla Glass. Flanking that is two pretty large black bezels, but one of those is housing your front-facing camera, your notification light, and also all your sensors. And then flanking that, we've got stereo speakers, and I really do appreciate it when companies put stereo speakers on a phone. It just makes our experience so much better for watching movies and for listening to music. It's just so much better. So what I'm going to do now is just give you a little bit of a demo just so you can hear what the speakers sound like. So spinning the phone round to the right hand side, we've got your power and volume button. Now I really like them, they're really nice, they're really tactile, and because they're metal they feel really solid and robust. The only downside is they've got a really extremely heavy texture on it. Now it does feel good, but I'm not really keen on how it looks. Spinning the phone round to the bottom, and we've got your primary microphone and your micro USB. Then onto the left hand side of the phone we've got another textured button, and this is for use when you're using your camera. And then just below that we've got access to your SIM card and your micro SD expansion. And then finally up top we've got your secondary microphone and also your 3.5mm jack. Now the 3.5mm is pretty impressive. The sound quality is good, it's loud, and yeah, if you've got a decent pair of headphones you're going to be pretty impressed with what the phone actually produces. And then last but not least we get onto the back of the phone, and it's finished in glass, which unfortunately does attract a lot of grease and a lot of fingerprints, so keeping it clean can be a bit of a chore. But on here we've got your rear facing camera, which does unfortunately protrude from the back of the phone, so that means when you're putting it on a flat surface it does wobble about a bit. Next to that we've got a dual tone LED flash, and then below that we've got your fingerprint scanner. Now the scanner is not my favourite for position wise, I prefer mine around the front, and yeah, the scanner works around 90% of the time. And most of the time I'm finding myself having to sort of find it essentially. There's no real massively discernible thing to make it noticeable. There's no indentation, so your finger sort of slips into it. It's just got a little ring around it, and it kind of makes it a little bit difficult to press and to locate. So next up we get onto your display. Now this has got a 5.5-inch AMOLED display. It's 2560 by 1440, giving you a PPI of 534, which is pretty impressive. It's very sharp, the colours are really nice and vibrant, they've got nice saturation, a very punchy contrast. The whites are a little bit tinted, not massively but just a little bit, and the blacks are really nice and deep too. So if you're one of those people that likes looking at your photos on your phone, then you're going to be impressed. Like I said, it's really sharp, it's really vibrant, and you're going to be impressed with the quality that this screen can produce. The only downside with an AMOLED panel is the viewing angles. Now the angles are actually pretty impressive, but you do get a sort of rainbowing effect in that, and it kind of spoils the colours, but it's only really noticeable at more extreme angles. So next up we get onto the UI, and this is running Android 6.0.1 Marshmallow out of the box. And it is a pretty stock-like experience. I mean, all the icons pretty much look like stock. The app drawer and stuff is pretty much like you get on stock Android. So yeah, you've probably seen this before on Nexus devices. Now the only thing different is Vodafone have included a lot of different apps. Luckily most of these you can actually stop, and some of them you can fully remove as well. Right guys, so now we get on to performance, and this is packing a Snapdragon 652, an Adreno 510, 3GB of RAM, 32GB of storage, which is expandable up to 256GB. The performance is great, the UI, there's no issues whatsoever, there's no lag, there's no choppiness or anything, and it just performs really smoothly. Multitasking is also pretty good with the 3GB of RAM, so if you're a heavy multitasker then you're going to have no issues whatsoever. Games like Angry Birds played, no problems whatsoever. Asphalt 8 again plays high settings, no issues whatsoever. And finally Injustice Gods Among Us plays again, no problems whatsoever. The only issue I've found is it does seem to get a little bit hot around the volume rocker, so just keep that in mind. So now we get on to the battery life, and this has got a 3000 mAh battery in it, and it has Quick Charge 3.0, which gives you around 50% battery in around half an hour if you've got a compatible charger. Now I was getting anywhere between 1.5 to 1 day's use, which for me is actually pretty impressive, and considering this has got a 1440p display, I actually can't really complain too much. Average screen on time, I was getting around 4 hours. Again, I can't really complain at all. And then finally we get on to the cameras. So around the back we've got a 16 megapixel camera with an f.2 aperture. We've got phase detect autofocus and a dual LED flash. It's capable of shooting 2160 video at 30 frames per second, 1080p at 60 and 1080p at 30 frames per second too. The front facing camera is 8 megapixels, it's capable of shooting 1080p and it does have a flash. So let's take a quick look at the app first before I show you some samples. And the app is really nice, it's really straightforward, it's really logically laid out, and it is really easy to use. So at the side you can see we've got some options. We've got one to switch the camera to the front, one for night mode, a timer, HDR and your flash toggle, and also access to your settings. And on the other side we've got everything else. We've got an option to switch to video mode, your shutter button, and then you can see we can go into your phone and view your photos. We've also got options for manual mode, panorama and slow-mo. So the app is actually really nice and really intuitive. So let's take a look at some samples now. So this first one here is really nice, nicely vibrant. The colours are actually quite accurate as well, and it's just a generally nice looking image. Cropping 100% and you can see it's retained a lot of detail, and again it just looks really great. This next one here looks really great. Also, the dynamic range is really nice. The colour accuracy is really good. And again, it's just captured a lot of detail. Shadows look great. So yeah, can't really complain for this one. Then we got to this image here, again really nice, really natural, and again quite sharp and detailed. And you can see this by cropping in 100% with how much detail there is in the text. Getting onto this flower, and again it's nailed dynamic range. This one is a touch oversaturated, but I think it is still a very pleasing image. The white looks nice and true, and the rest of the colours, like I said, look really nice. Then we got on some issues with the photos, and this one, it just seemed to fail to catch focus. Now this is in a bit lower light, and yeah, it's just struggled to catch focus. And then again, this one, another focusing issue, and it just seems to struggle to focus on objects that are really small. Then we got onto this landscape photo, and I can't really fault it. I mean, it looks great, colours look nice and natural, and it's actually done a decent job with dynamic range too. Right guys, so this is the Vodafone Platinum 7, and this is the rear facing camera, 1080p at 30 fps. So this is just a bit of a quality test and stability test, and so far it seems to be coping really nicely. As you can see, I mean, the ground is fairly rutty, it's not perfectly level either, but I think it's coping pretty well. I'll pick up the pace a bit and see how it copes, and it seems to be doing okay. Now we got on some front facing samples, and the first one here isn't that impressive. This second one here looks a little bit better, but you can see the sky is massively overblown. Colours are fairly accurate, but yeah, it's just kind of blowing everything out. Again, it's done the same here. Colours are actually a little bit more muted in this one, but again, it's just completely blown out the sky. Right guys, so this is the front facing camera on the Platinum 7. So this is what you can come to expect if you buy this from the front facing camera. Again, this is in 1080p 30 frames per second, and this is just like, again, a stability and quality test. So let's just spin around, see how it copes in different light. Not too bad. So there you have it guys, that's what you can come to expect from the front facing camera on the Platinum 7. And finally we got on some indoor ones, and this is taken in natural light, and I'm actually really impressed. Colours look nice and vibrant, and it's just captured a really sharp image. Then we got onto another one, and this is artificial using my desk light, and again it's captured a lot of detail, and I think it's a great looking image. There is a tiny bit of noise in the background though. Then we've got a macro style shot here, and it actually has a problem with macro shots, and it doesn't seem to be able to focus close up. Then we've got a low light shot here, and yeah, it's not fantastic. You can see cropping in, it's actually a little bit blurry and a little bit ghosted actually, but that can be remedied with a flash, and it's a decent flash. It's not fantastic, and you can see it's focused mainly in one area instead of a widespread one, but it's actually sorted out the image and made it look much better. Then we got some front facing samples indoors, and you can see it's alright, but there is a blue tint to it. And then we got onto this final one here of one with a flash and one without the flash, and yeah, the one without the flash kind of looks a little bit better because the one with the flash has got a really like blue tint to it. Right guys, so that just about wraps it up for this review. So what do I think of this phone? Well, for £300 in the UK, I think it's pretty good. It's really nicely designed if you like that sort of thing. I'm not a huge fan of it, but you might be. The build quality is fantastic. It's really solid. It feels really well put together. The only downside is it's kind of big. So if you've got smaller hands, then you might struggle to use it one-handed and you'll probably have to use it with both hands. The display is really nice, it's really sharp, it's really vibrant. So yeah, I can't complain about anything there. The UI is pretty close to stock Android, which is my preferred UI. Performance, again, it's not flagship level specifications, but these days you don't really need them to get a really good performance. And this does perform almost as good as some flagships. The only downside to this phone is probably the camera. It's a little bit hit and miss. Sometimes it's capable of shooting some really impressive photos, and then other times it's just a big letdown. So yeah, as an overall package, I'm really impressed with this phone. Like I said, it's got so many great features and stereo speakers too, which is definitely one of my must-have features on a smartphone. So should you actually get one of these? Well, like I said, for £300 it is a really impressive phone. Yes, there is a lot of phones out there now at this price that are really good, but I definitely think you should check this out because of what it offers. Right guys, so that is pretty much it for this review. If you've got any questions, feel free to drop me one down in the comments. Any likes, shares and all that good stuff would be greatly appreciated too. So thank you so much for watching guys, and I will see you on the next one.